I'm Sarah Griffith, and today I will be focusing on the 5th grade life science strand, specifically the standards with OLS, which is Life Science 512, which explains that food webs can be used to identify the relationships between producers, consumers, and decomposers, and also the NGSS standard, which is 5LSZ1, which says showing a model to describe the movement of matter between among plants and animals and decomposers. So behind me, I have a model of a food web. It does not include decomposers, but it does represent the flow of energy among plants and animals in the sun. So the bottom represents the sun, and then we go on to producers and then on to consumers. So I thought it would be exciting to use boxes because it's kind of life size, and it's something that as a class we could do as a whole group. So I created the bottom part, which is the sun, and I would have students divide up into groups and give them a box. I only had 10 boxes, but if I had more boxes, we could make it longer so that we could have more boxes for more groups to use. But I would give each group a box and assign them either a producer, primary consumer, or secondary consumer. And as a class, we would choose a specific ecosystem. So this could be marine or forest or a jungle, something like that. So for this example, I used a forest as the ecosystem. So I'm just pretending that I am a group and that I drew for our producer leaves, and then for our primary consumer in our forest, I have a deer here. Hopefully the kids would do a better job than me in drawing a deer, as well as a wolf up here. So once every box is decorated, and students could have a lot of fun with this and get creative, once they have their box, we would put them together in a pyramid shape. And I would ask students to predict what would happen if a species, whether it's producer or consumer, is wiped out for, it could be an array of reasons. So a natural disaster, for instance, like a wildfire. What would happen, do you think, if we wiped out the leaves? How would that affect our ecosystem? So I would have students predict first, and then I would actually demonstrate what would happen, which most of you can probably predict, but I would do it anyway. So we will remove the leaves and see what happens. And as you can see, the ecosystem kind of fell apart. Now, there are still some species left because an ecosystem, even if there is a disaster such as a wildfire, an ecosystem wants to be in balance and life keeps going. Even if there is a disaster, it might look different, but where old species may leave and new species may come in, but it will still keep going as an ecosystem. So that is it for my explanation, and I would also want to include a little more detail that goes into the energy and how the energy flows, and that the most energy comes from the sun, and then it decreases as you go up. So if I were to take away the wolf, for instance, it might not have affected the ecosystem as much. So I would also want to go into some detail about the flow of energy between the sun and producers, which is photosynthesis, that plants and animals have this symbiotic relationship. They're intertwined, they rely on each other. And the ecosystem is very complex, and every ecosystem looks different, and certain animals are meant to live in certain areas and would only thrive in those habitats or ecosystems. So I really liked this activity because it was very hands-on and kinesthetic and gets kids excited about learning. Like I said, you can add more boxes to represent more species, but this is all I had. But I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thanks.